Okay, so you probably clicked on this video because you're interested in doing a low buy year, no buy year, low spend, no spend in 2025. So hopefully it's going to be helpful for you, and hopefully it's going to be helpful for me too. I thought I would do a casual plan with me video so you can see all the thought processes that I'm going through and how I'm planning for my low buy year to have success, save money, and heal my relationship with consumption. If you're new here, my name is Imi, and I like to talk about all things to do with food, sustainability, learning new skills, and just trying to get outside as much as possible and spend my money on experiences rather than material goods. So if that's up your street, then don't forget to subscribe, because we're going to be doing bi-weekly videos on this low buy year, updating you on what I'm spending my money on, how much money I'm saving, things that are easy, things that are difficult, and just try to be incredibly transparent and just share the journey with you. So yeah, make sure to subscribe if you think that that is going to be interesting to you. This is the structure of the video, so you can skip between the chapters that are going to be most helpful for you. I have my little list here. Step 1, and this is the step 1 in my whole process of preparing for my low buy year. We're going to reflect on the positive consumption and financial habits that we already do. I think that this is a very important starting point. Step 2 is to go through all of our bank statements and see what we're actually spending our money on. I have a list of every transaction that I make every month already in a spreadsheet, and I've been doing this for I think a year and a half now. If we don't have data, then we don't know what we're spending our money on, and then we can't have a realistic look about creating a budget. Step 3, and you might not think that this is relevant, but it is to note down or write down a list of everything that genuinely brings you joy, no matter how small. And you don't have to do this all in one go. You can do this as you start to notice things. This will honestly help you to focus on what you do want to spend your money on, or what you want to save for, or what you truly value and think is worth spending your money and time on. So with all that information, we'll then move on to step 4, which is about writing all of our lists. I'm going to have 4 lists. Things I'm not allowed to buy, things I am allowed to replace, things I am allowed to buy, and then experiences that I want to be spending my money on instead of those material items. And then step 5 is to create our budget. This will include all of our outgoings, how much money we realistically want to save. Money we'll put into things like a sinking fund, which is a new term that I just discovered, so very helpful. And then step 6 is to take action. So this might look like getting a library card, cancelling subscriptions that you don't want to be spending your money on, unsubscribing from email lists or influencers that encourage bad habits in terms of your spending if you're trying to do a low spend or low buy. This might also look like deleting shopping apps from your phone, or automating your savings, or opening a Roth IRA if you're in the US, or an ISA if you're in the UK, or the equivalent kind of savings account if you're elsewhere. Those are my 6 steps that I'm going to be taking to plan for my low buy year, to try and set myself up for success. And also going through your bank statements is going to be helpful, not just for understanding how much you're spending your money on, but also for planning ahead. So 2 things that I have to spend money on, or 3 things that I have to spend money on next year, are 2 car insurance payments, so one in January and one in July, I think, and then also my car registration, which is in August. So those 3 things already is over $2,000. Taking those things into consideration and creating a sinking fund, then that's going to be something I can plan for so that I don't get a huge bill one month and completely throw off all my, progress with financial savings, or just not being prepared for a big payment in 1 month. Okay, let's do step 1. So if you want, you can pause the video and get out a notebook, or write it on your phone or on your computer, wherever you like to do your planning. I want you to write down at least 5 positive consumption habits or financial habits that you already have. So I'm going to do that now, and then we can share. I'll share obviously to you, and then if you want to write them down in the comments and share with everyone else, then I think that would be really helpful. One thing that has already been helpful for me is knowing how many people are doing a low buy year as well. I think having community and people to talk to about it, and if you're having trouble with not spending on certain different things, or you don't know how to open a savings account, or all of these different things, having someone to talk to and having people in the comments being able to share information, I think is one of the best tools that we can possibly have, especially to set us up for success. Yeah, pause the video and let's write our positive habits. Okay, this was actually a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, which is worrying. So I picked out 5 positive habits that I already do. So one is I contribute $100 to a joint emergency fund that I have with my husband every single month, and I've been doing that for 2 years now. I never buy fast fashion. Ever. 3, I keep track of every transaction I make monthly so I don't spend beyond my means. In my first video, I talked about having never had a credit card before I moved to the US because I was a bit scared of it. If I can't see the money going out of my bank and seeing how much money I have left for the month, then it completely skews how much money I think that I have, and then my spending just kind of creeps up, and then the possibility of me spending beyond my means becomes far greater. So just keeping track of the transactions I'm making every week, every couple of days, every month, then I can make sure that I am on track to stick to my budget each month. The 4th one is I save monthly for big expenses. This is only a recent habit that I've started doing it, and it's because I've had quite a few expensive months last year, from paying for car insurance, flights to go home to visit my family, and things like car registration. So I've started saving monthly for that. And then the last one, again, something I started doing, I think during the pandemic, when I realized I should probably have a pension. So now I pay my future self first when I'm doing my bills. And this just means I prioritize saving for retirement and putting money into a savings account like it is a bill before I can assign that money to anywhere else. Yeah, so those are my 5 positive habits. I'd love to know what yours are. And I guess now we can move on to step 2, where we go through our transaction list, or you don't have to do this too extensively if you don't want to. If you have kept a list like I have of every transaction, then it's going to be easy. But you can just scroll through if you have the app on your phone and just look and see where the majority of your money is going. You can also export your statements into an Excel spreadsheet, which will make it a lot more simple as well. And then you can just go down the list and see the biggest payments, or the most consistent payments, or most consistent brands or companies, or wherever you're spending your money, and then being able to write a list from there and seeing what they are. So I'm going to go through mine, and then I will share with you where the majority of my money is going. Okay, I'm quite lucky because my husband set up this spreadsheet, because when we moved in together, obviously that was the first time that we were sharing a lot of expenses and things like that. And we spend money on very different things, and only, I'd say, 30% of our spending is joint spending. Okay, so we're starting with January, and I'm just looking at where the most money I spent. To be fair, January was a really good month for me where I really did not spend very much money at all. I think after the holidays, you can definitely start to feel like a bit stretched financially. And also in January, everyone has this kind of renewed sense of excitement about, goals for the year, saving money. But I can already see that the most money I spent in January was on eating out. And that was because I was in the UK for the first 2 weeks of January visiting my family. And when I'm in London, I always want to go and try new restaurants. So I spent over $400 on eating out, and one of those was a gift that I gave to my sister. I bought her some really nice coffee from this coffee shop near where my parents live. So $50 is around that. So I really didn't spend very much other money. But when I look at the other months, because I'm wondering why did I spend double the amount in February than I did in January? And I'm thinking, I just can't think of what I spent money on. I had to have my wisdom teeth removed, and that cost me $790 in February. So that's another thing that was very expensive. And then if I move on to later in the year, and again, I'm thinking, why did I spend so much money in April, for example? 2 of those things are I paid Colorado state tax, and I also did an IRS payment. So those are tax payments. I also bought some flights, and then just a few other random things that came up. But my biggest spend months were definitely the summer months. So May, June, and July, and August. Those 4 months were my biggest spend months. And majority of that was actually on travel. Unfortunately, during those travel times, I also ended up spending quite a lot of money on dentistry again. So in May, I did end up spending an additional $700 on dental work. Next year, I'm not going to have to do any of that. They've taken all the teeth that they can take. So I'm hoping that those aren't things that I'm going to have to account for next year. And I'm talking from someone who does have dental insurance. So this is on top of my dental insurance that I've had to pay. So just from looking through all my bank statements, I can see that the majority of the money that I spent from this year are on unforeseen costs like dental work, car, very expensive to have a car in the US and in Colorado, Denver, food, and eating out. Despite the fact that I don't eat out very much when I'm actually at home, I eat out quite a bit when I'm in London visiting my family and friends, or when we go traveling and we around the country and want to try a new restaurant. Like in Salt Lake City, there was a vegan restaurant we really wanted to try. When we were just in San Diego, there was a vegan restaurant called Kindred that we really wanted to try. That was very expensive. And then also on hobbies. And that's where a lot of my money goes. So you'd probably think, oh, well, that's not too bad. Like unforeseen, you can't, do anything about that. Travel, well, you want to spend money on experiences. Food and hobbies, those two things are clearly important to you. It's the other things that I'm spending my money on that are like $40 here, $30 there, that all add up, that just seem to be these costs that I'm just not interested in spending my money on. And it's those things that slip through the cracks and end up really racking up your bills because you're just kind of spending and you're thinking, oh, well, it's only $10, it's only $20. And then at the end of the month, you're like, okay, I've actually spent an additional $350 on just bits here and things there. And one of my other big things that I clearly spend a lot of money on that needs to be reined in a little is going to the supermarket and not having a proper meal plan. Food in the US, I know I say this a lot, but food in the US is very expensive. And especially if you're eating things like fake meats or, non-dairy cheeses and things like that, those are quite expensive too. And if you're not meal planning, or if I'm not meal planning or food prepping, then I'm going to end up spending more money on bits for certain meals on different days, and actually I could be saving a lot of money just by being a little bit more prepared. Okay, I've been through my statements. I hope you've been through your statements too. I actually feel more positive having gone through those about what I've spent my money on and kind of not really beating myself up about having to spend $1,400 this year on dental work. Those were things that couldn't be avoided. Well, they can be avoided in the future. It just makes me feel a little bit better that even though I think that I'm relatively good with money, what it's done is made me think, okay, sinking funds are really important, emergency funds are really important, and having things that are put aside each month just so that in case these things come up, you don't have a nasty shock like I did. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Step 3 is writing down a list of all the things that give you joy. And then just a reminder that these things don't have to be, huge. Like for example, every morning when I drive to the gym, I drive at the same time. So I get to this little intersection where I'm turning left, where I'm looking directly at the mountains as the sun is rising and is hitting those mountains. And right now they're covered in snow. And as the sun hits, they are like beautiful and orange, and just that moment of seeing the sun hit the snowy mountains, that gives me a lot of joy. And that's just something that's built into my day-to-day, and they're just things that we don't necessarily think about. So pause the video and just take a few moments now if you want to write down all the things that genuinely bring you joy. Okay, I just finished my list, and this was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I thought it would be difficult. I came up with 15 things that just bring me joy. So I'll quickly run through those. 1, as I mentioned, watching the sunrise over the mountains. 2, seeing wildlife. 3, spending time with family and friends. 4, eating good food. 5, climbing. 6, hitting a PR in the gym. Like when I managed to finally lift 225 pounds with a deadlift. That was very, very satisfying. Brought me a lot of joy. 7, hiking. 8, autumn colors. 9, organizing meetups with my community. The last one was a few weeks ago. We went to Waterton Canyon in Colorado, and that was just so great. I really loved it. It was so nice to spend time with like-minded people. 10, knitting, of course. 11, learning new skills. 12, wild swimming or just being near water. I love swimming in the ocean. I love swimming in rivers. I love swimming in lakes. I like sitting by lakes. I like sitting by the sea. All water. 13, picnics in beautiful places or anywhere. 14, dogs. I love cats too, but I love dogs. And then 15, cooking new recipes with my husband or with my family. So those are 15 things that bring me a lot of joy. A lot of these don't involve spending money, but if they do, then I can create budgets for the ones that I find the most important. Things like hiking. I love going to Rocky Mountain National Park. I also love just going to national parks. So one thing I'm going to put into my budget is a national parks pass. And that is something I think we have to renew in February. And it's about $80 for the whole year, which pays for itself after we've been to a national park about 4 times, which we tend to do before even the first quarter of the year is up. Also, Also, with my car registration, you can get a built-in state park pass, and I do that every year. State parks are so wonderful, and they're really great opportunities to see a lot of these things on my list, like watching a sunrise over the mountains, seeing wildlife, hiking, having a picnic in a beautiful spot, spending time with friends and family, creating meetups, seeing autumn colors, and maybe even knitting if I brought my knitting. So I think it's really helpful to think about things like that. What brings you joy? What do you think is worth it in terms of putting money aside for that? What's your budget for those things? And if you can't think of a budget for them, if you do have to spend money, then maybe it's not something that actually brings you joy. Maybe it's something that you think that other people think that is cool, or it's something that other people like that you think you should like, but maybe you actually don't. And that's totally fine. Now that you know what brings you joy, this is going to really help to focus you on, as I said, what you want to be spending your money on. So step 4 is to write your lists of what you're not allowed to buy, what you are allowed to buy, what you're allowed to replace, and in my case, what experiences I want to spend money on. So write down things you're allowed to buy, allowed to replace, and not allowed to buy. I was actually thinking of making a separate video of things I'm not buying in 2025, and then I just thought that's just a waste of your time. So I thought I would just include it right here. So I already actually started writing down a list and creating a list of things I'm not allowed to buy. So I'm not allowed to buy any hiking gear. I have everything I need. Anything that I would buy would be because I'd seen it somewhere that I thought was a slightly cool color of whatever. But in reality, I wear the same things every single time. I've got 2 pairs of hiking boots, one for colder weather, one for warmer weather. I have 2 pairs of hiking trousers that I love, again, one for warmer weather, one for cooler weather, and one of those actually zips off into shorts, which is perfect. I have a couple of sun hoodies, which are the best purchase I ever made. And then I also have one from Melanzana, which is a slightly thicker one, so it's just better for cooler winter. Then I have a mini puff or a micro puff, and then I have a wind rain jacket. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. Yeah, of course I want other things, but I don't need them. I also have loads of hiking socks. No camping gear. Again, I have everything that I need. Anything that I would want to buy is simply a want and not a need, so I'm not allowed to buy those. 3, no kitchen accessories unless something I already have breaks, and then I'm allowed to replace it. But that has to be something that I use at least weekly. No cookbooks. I bought a lot of cookbooks this year because I really wanted to support a lot of creators that I personally follow and really like. I've done that. So next year, I need to make sure that I'm actually using the cookbooks that I have already bought before I go and get another one. Also, I have a library card. If I want to rent one, I can rent one. And then if I think that it's actually, really helpful, really useful, then maybe I'll consider purchasing it in the future. No furniture. We live in a small house. We have everything that we need. Most of the stuff that we got was secondhand from Facebook Marketplace, which is so great. And also just from the various thrift stores, like ARC thrift store in Denver, which was so great. We have a sideboard that we still use, that we did a little renovate on, painted it, sanded it, did all those things, and we still use it, and it's still very helpful, and that cost us $20. I would love to replace this table. Even though it's a good size, something about it being round is annoying, and also the color is just, I don't like orange. I don't know why people go for orange wood. But instead of buying a new one, we're just gonna sand this down and restain it and give it a new life, because there's nothing wrong with it, and it's actually pretty good size for things like my crafting. Number 6, no self-help or productivity books. Very specific here. I still have a bunch on my shelf that I haven't read. Why do we do this? One year, I think a couple of years ago, I said I wasn't allowed to buy books, and then I read all my books and I was really happy with it. But then I did the same thing where I bought a bunch of books and haven't read them. So I've got enough books to last me probably a good 6 months here. No books. Number 7 is no trendy skincare. I can't tell you how my brain tried to convince me that now that I am getting older, my white hairs are coming in, my crow's feet are beginning to shine, that my brain immediately went, we got to stop this. I think we should spend $400 on a red light mask that everyone seems to be talking about. Why did my brain go there? I don't need to buy that mask. $400. $400. That's like 50% of a flight to get me home to spend multiple weeks with my friends and family back in the UK. So yeah, no trendy skincare. I'm allowed to replace the skincare that I already have and use every day or every week, but I'm not allowed to get any skincare that is, trending or whatever, because it's probably not good for me. It's probably not for my skin type. It probably isn't actually helpful. And it's a no. Okay, 8. We'll move through these next 3. 8, no jewelry. I wear the same jewelry every single day. I wear my 2 necklaces. I wear the same earrings. I usually have the same rings. I have a couple of rings that have gone a very weird color since moving here, so I just need to wash those. Number 9, mine is no gardening equipment, no bags, no nothing. I have everything I need. I don't need to be spending money on that. Next year, I'm definitely going to be taking my gardening a lot more seriously and do loads of growing, but I still have everything I need. The only thing I might need to get is compost. So no equipment. And then the last thing is no knitting equipment and no crochet equipment. I have everything I need. I don't need to be buying anything that looks cool, might be a bit gimmicky. I'm allowed to buy yarn, but I'm only allowed to buy that once I've got through everything that I already have and finished all the projects that I already have. So those are things I'm not buying in 2025. There are probably a lot more things, honestly, and I will definitely update you on my bi-weekly videos as we go, but those are things that I'm definitely not buying. So things I'm allowed to replace, as I mentioned in my no-buy list, if something in my kitchen breaks beyond repair and I cannot get it repaired, and it's something I use every day or every week and is fundamental, then I'm allowed to replace it. The same with skincare. The things that I use every single day, I'm allowed to replace. Those are the only things I have on my list. Oh, also, I'm not allowed to buy any clothes. I am going through a big phase right now of my body is fluctuating. I'm waiting to find where it's going to settle. I'm having a kind of crisis of identity in terms of what I like to wear, all that kind of stuff. And so while I'm going through this whole stage, I think it's best not to buy any clothes. And actually there are quite a few clothes that I am going to sell, including some very nice floral dresses that, do you know what, actually aren't really me. So I'm going to get rid of those. We're not going to get rid of them. I'm going to sell them because they deserve to have a nice home. Things I'm allowed to buy. Gifts are things that I will buy. I love buying gifts and I want to be generous with my gifts. So those are definitely going to be things that I'm allowed to buy. I will come up with a budget, but I'm not sure. I'm still thinking of my list of travel experiences that I want to spend money on or I'm allowed to spend money on. So I'm going to have to come back to that, I think. Step 5 is creating your budget. So I've noted down what all of my outgoings are. So I have my rent contribution, which is about $1,200. I have my benefits contribution, which is like health insurance, dental, and eye insurance, and that's $120 a month. I include my emergency fund contribution as an outgoing, so that's $100 a month. Then we have our utilities. That changes each month, so I'll have to update that as we go. But the water tends to be around $40, and then the gas and electricity tends to be between $50 and $100, depending on the time of year. My student loan is $508, and then I include car insurance savings as an outgoing, so that's $200 a month that I put aside as well. And then I also have my gym membership, which is $95.50 every month. That is quite expensive, but it's because it's for a climbing gym, so I have top rope, lead climbing, bouldering, full gym, free yoga classes, all included. So for me that's worth it, especially because climbing is a huge hobby of mine, and that's something I do. I go to that gym probably 5 times a week to either climb or work out. So for me, that's 100% worth it and a non-negotiable. I've actually just cancelled a bunch of my subscriptions. So I think subscriptions comes out to about $25 a month because I kept Spotify and my YouTube Premium, and then I cancelled everything else. So that comes out to about $2,025 a month on my outgoings, which is quite a lot of money. And obviously a bulk of that is my student loan at $500. Now I have to basically decide with the remaining money that I get paid, what do I want to put that money towards? So $300 already of those outgoings is going towards savings for things. But I want to take my retirement savings really, really seriously. And I want to try and max out my Roth IRA every single year. And I think that ends up being about $585 a month, which is obviously a lot of money. But if I am really aggressive with my saving this year, then I think that it is possible. So if you're creating your budget, then obviously go through all of your outgoings and put them into a little spreadsheet, and then think about how much money you have left over, if anything, and then decide where you want to allocate that. Creating realistic budgets is going to help you dramatically. So if you say, oh, I'm only going to spend $50 a month on food, but in reality you're spending $250, then that's not going to help you at all. So that's why we go through our transaction list to see how much we're realistically spending on things, and then we can create a realistic budget which will help us be much more successful in the long run. So since I don't eat out really in Denver, if we do, it's probably once every 6 weeks or something. So I like to allocate allocate more money towards a grocery shop. So I'm going to allocate $300 to groceries. That might seem like a lot to you, might seem like not very much. Again, food in the US is very expensive. As I'm getting older, I'm really trying to prioritize healthy food as much as possible. So I'm going to stick to that for January. Hopefully I will go under it, but we definitely will not go over it. And I will update you at the end of January to let you know if that was too much money or if it was a bit frivolous money or how that felt. I also have a phone bill, obviously, which I completely forgot. That's $42 a month. Whoops. Petrol is also something else I need to think about because obviously I drive a car and one of my big hobbies is hiking. So obviously I'm going to spend a lot more money on petrol if I'm going to go and do hikes that are further away. So I have to decide again where I'm going to put that budget for that kind of thing. That's going to take me a little bit more time, I think. So I'm going to have a little think about that. The next thing for you to do, as well as me, is to take action. So once you've created your budget and you've decided how much money you want to save, things that you want to cancel and whatever, then now is the time to do it. So getting a library card if you don't already have it. If you like listening to audiobooks or you want to read ebooks, then download the app Libby. You can get your library books through that or audiobooks through that. Automate your savings. So when your paycheck comes in, if you've automated $50 to automatically go into your emergency fund, then that is definitely something that you should do. Cancel those subscriptions you don't use, unsubscribe from mailing lists, write a list of all the things that you think you need to take action on, and then do it. It's also important to understand what your goals are. If you don't have any goals, then it's quite hard to motivate yourself to stick to something. So for example, we contribute $100 a month each to our joint emergency fund. So far we have about $3,000 in there. Our goal really with that emergency fund is to get to about $15,000 combined. If we keep going at the rate that we're going, by the end of next year, we'll have, 5,400. But realistically, we definitely want to start saving more aggressively. So I might start putting, let's say, $200 a month into the emergency fund instead. So if we both do that, then that's $400 a month. So we're going to get closer to our goal much more quickly. So if we save $200 each a month, that's going to be $4,800 by the end of the year. So we could reach potentially a goal of $7,800 for the end of the year. So that's one goal that I'm going to write down. So I'm going to update you every month in those sort of end of month, low by year videos to see if we're on track to meet those goals. My second goal is to contribute the full amount to my Roth IRA. So that is $585 a month. So that's a little bit over, that's $20 over. So the last month will be $560. So that's another of my goals for financial. I did mention in my last video about whether I wanted to pay down my student loan faster or not, but I actually did a lot of research into student loans in the UK, and all the advice is to not pay it down and not pay it down faster at all. There was some research done and a study, I think, about how many people actually pay off their student loan in the UK, and I think 83% of people do not pay down their full amount of their student loan. Our student loans have a cap of time or a term. So after 30 years, since the day you start paying, your loan gets written off. So I'm not going to pay that down more aggressively. If anything, I'm actually going to try and reduce my payments. So paying my student loan off is not a goal for me. Instead, I want to use the money I would have spent and put it towards my future retirement, and then also put it towards things like a sinking fund, flights to visit my family and travel and things like that. And the third goal is to, I think, maybe just put a few $100s aside each month to save for a house. That's still a goal of mine. I really just want to grow loads of things in a nice garden. Like, doesn't need to be a big house at all. I just want to be able to grow loads of vegetables and loads of flowers. That's all I really care about. I don't know how aggressive to be or optimistic to be. I feel like if I do a small goal, then I might be able to achieve it. I feel like if I did a goal that's too big, then it might put me off. Let's go in the middle. I'm going to try and save $5,000 this year towards the house. That's my goal. One thing I am doing is I'm splitting my months. So I'm taking it month by month and quarter by quarter. I think that it's much easier to do it that way than to just think about a whole low by year or no by year in one thing. That feels overwhelming and a bit stressful. So I actually got myself, which you don't have to do, a book calendar. One of the things I found very helpful when we do, because we always do a no by month each year, And I found it very helpful having a calendar where I have every single day. And then when it's been a day where no money has been spent, I put a specific color on there. And then if I spent money, I put a different color. And then if I've spent money that was expected, then that's also another different color. And being able to just see it as a monthly view, I've personally found it to be very motivating and just to give me good data on, are there days that I'm spending too much money? Are there days where, actually, do you know what? I've had 5 days in a row where I haven't spent any money at all and I'm actually doing a really good job. I will always say having more data is so helpful. Even if you have to split it into day by day, week by week, month by month, that is going to really help to keep you motivated and not get overwhelmed with thinking about an entire year. Also, some months will be very easy to spend less money because, like for example, January, I have no plans in January, and February, no plans. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to spend any money on flights. I don't want to do anything like that. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to have a very, very low buy month. But times like June, July, and August, and probably September, those 4 months will probably be my biggest spend months because I'll be visiting my family, I'll be visiting my husband's family, and hopefully traveling around a little bit in the US near me and just doing lots of hiking and camping. But inevitably things like petrol to drive to those places will be more expensive. So taking those things into consideration and planning early, then we can make sure that we have the budget to do all the things that we want to do. Yeah, that was just a little extra thing that I thought I would add because I personally find that very helpful. You can even get little stickers if you want, or just use a pen and just write on the day, no spend, low spend, and then do a little audit at the end of that month or the end of that week. Cross-reference it with your goals and your budget. I think that that is probably everything that I'm going to do for planning. And then, to be honest, there's only so many things that you can plan for. Create your budget, decide what you want to spend your money on, put money aside for unexpected costs that are going to come up or expected costs that are going to come up, have very clear financial goals. For me, one of my big reasons as to why I wanted to do a low buy year was also to heal my relationship with consumption. I think it's harder to have smart goals or very specific goals for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a document, and every physical item I buy throughout the month, throughout the year, I'm going to write down what that item was, whether it was a need or a want, maybe a reason as to why I bought it, maybe my mood when I was buying it, and how much that cost. So that's something that I'm going to also take into consideration too. Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say on this at the moment. I feel like I need to go through a whole month before I can have some really good data of my new habits, if things are working and all that kind of stuff, how much money I was able to save. Also, as someone who is self-employed, my income does fluctuate, so I don't earn the same amount of money into my bank account every month, but I've started using a payroll company, so hopefully I can pay myself the same amount every month and create a budget for how much I realistically think that I'll need each month, whilst also being able to meet my savings goals. So I'll definitely update you on that as well. One of my big goals for this year or next year is to earn more money from AdSense so I can take less sponsorship deals. If you're interested in how much money I make from AdSense on YouTube, then let me know. I would love to make a video about that just in case people are actually interested or if people want to become YouTubers. I think people would also be quite surprised at the amount of money that I earn from AdSense. Other YouTubers earn a lot of money. I definitely don't earn as much money from AdSense as other YouTubers, and it's all to do with like how many ads you put on, what kind of content you make, what region you live in, and how consistent you are with uploads. So if you want a real insight, then Katie Steckley, I like her. She's a great YouTuber who makes content about becoming a content creator. She makes videos and she has shown you how much that she makes. I mean, I think she makes like between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, which I think is a huge amount and way more than I'm earning. So I'm hoping to increase my AdSense next year so I can take less sponsorship, so I can be a much more conscious creator. I hope this was helpful. I hope that the more casual approach was also helpful. I was thinking about putting a bunch of graphics and whatever, but I feel like we're all at the same stage where we just kind of want more casual, real content than these like hyper scripted and hyper produced content or videos. So let me know and give me some feedback on what you think and if this was helpful. As I said, bi-weekly videos, I'll give you lots of updates. I'll give you very honest updates about how it's all going. But in reality, my needs are met. So I'm spending money on things that I just don't need. And I really don't want to be stressed about finances anymore. I want to feel more in control of my finances. I want to know where my money is going, and I want to be working towards something that is tangible. So I hope that you like this video. Please subscribe if you want to follow this journey, and if you want to participate in this community, then please leave loads of comments and comment on other people's comments and help each other out. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, thank you so much for watching. And I hope you had a wonderful festive period, whatever you celebrate, and a very happy new year to all of you. Okay, bye.